Thank you very much, Madam Wong. I think my team at GSM Intelligence this year, we've been talking a lot about the second wave of 5G. And it sort of started when we hit 1 billion connections at the end of last year. And what we mean is sort of what's ahead of us, which could include new markets like India, right, where I think we know millimeter wave could factor in well and FWA an important opportunity. But if we start seeing things like millimeter wave in China, and particularly the message around industrial, it's an incredible new set of use cases, and I think it's going to be excited for. So thank you very much for the perspective. So now we're going to have a panel, and I think this might be one of the most exciting parts of the session today. We're going to have Brian from Verizon and Stéphane from Immersive. We're going to talk a bit about really the idea of what we can do in some actual practical use cases for how millimeter wave is being put to use today to do some really exciting stuff. So guys, why don't you come on up and we'll have a good conversation.
Hello, hello. Peter, good to see you. Thanks, Stéphane.
Have a seat, please.
We were missing a person up there. She was supposed to be here, and JFK didn't agree with us, so she couldn't make it. It was sad. But real quick, just so you guys can wake up, we're going to do a quick test. How many of you like F1? Raise your hand. Okay, so we thought maybe more. It's an international audience. Too bad. How about the NBA? Does anybody like the NBA? Okay, a few more hands. And then what about the NFL? American football. Okay, all right. So we're going to talk about those, and we're going to show you some really, I'll call them killer use case videos. It'll be B-roll. It's playing there. Look up there. You're going to see some neat stuff. We've got Stéphane here who's just going to really, really make this cool. So millimeter wave, sexy millimeter wave. Okay, let's do this, Peter.
I mean, that was going to be the title for this section, how to make millimeter wave sexy, but
Peter said no. Peter said
I don't get to control that. I wouldn't have said no if I had a choice. So I've got a whole list of questions here, but maybe it's worthwhile starting so everyone knows what you guys are up to. I always hate the bios that come. You know, it's always great when someone reads the bio, and Brian went to Omaha State, and he has 2 pets and loves rollerblading in his spare time. Yeah. So I like to let people deliver their own bios. Why don't you tell us a bit about what you're up to, Brian, and what you do at Verizon?
Yeah, so I work in device technology is what it's called, but it's basically connected objects. And then we threw sports in with it. I actually have the lady in the audience, my boss, who threw that together and said, hey, why don't you work on sports too? Because we wanted to take some really great technology and make it applicable for people when they go to venues.
Was that a hard sell when she said she'd like you to work on sports? Were you like, sports, I hate sports?
It was a 1-minute conversation. Hello? Yes, thanks.
Sports,
yeah, it was over just that fast.
Stéphane, I think a lot of people here know who Verizon is. They've got a booth out there. How about Immersive? Why don't you tell people a bit about what Immersive is and what you guys are up to?
Yes, sure. So hello everyone. Can you hear me? Yes. So I'm a co-founder and CTO of Immersive, and so we are a startup based out of France. We specialized in fun experience for sports, and we are doing augmented reality experience for sports fans. So that's what you will be able to see in the video that is running. What we worked on with Verizon was on NHL, and yeah, so we have been working on this kind of experience for more than 6 years now, and yeah, very happy to do that.
Great,
great partner.
So, Brian, Stéphane just mentioned NHL. You asked people about F1 and NBA and NFL. You didn't ask about NHL. Does everyone out there know what NHL is? Good, that's enough people.
3 of you. Yeah.
It's hockey, ice hockey.
In America, we hit a stick, puck.
It's like curling, but faster.
Ice, but much faster,
and with sticks. So Brian, I know you guys have done some cool stuff with Immersive around NHL. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, I think to bring some excitement to watching the sport of hockey, where it is so fast, it is a wicked fast game, we turned to Immersive and we said, hey, how can we figure out how to make it more exciting for the fans so they can actually track the puck? Or how do they figure out what the players are, what their stats are, who they are, or just grab information quickly? You might be sitting next to your neighbor and you'd be like, hey, I really want to know what's going on with this player. You can just hold your phone up, and because of the LiDAR sensor in the phone, edge computing and millimeter wave, we did amazing things with Stéphane. So you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So exactly as you said, Brian, we have developed this experience where you can just hold your phone at the game when you're in the venue, in the arena, and you will get this overlay of information displayed on top of the game and on top of the players. So you will be able to tap on a player to see who he is, to see how fast he's going, how many shots he has taken. You can see some heat maps on the ice directly. And you have the trail behind the puck, so you can follow what's happening during the game in real time on the screen of your phone.
Yeah, when you see it on the B-roll here in a minute, you'll see the red tracer on the puck, and the faster it goes, the brighter it gets, almost like it's exploding on fire. And that's kind of fun to watch. It's almost like gamification. And so when we showed that to people, they were like, hey, I'll come see it at the place. It gets me off the couch. I'll come to your stadium and watch it.
Well, and it's interesting. I think people forget about that, right? I mean, now that you can see so much of this stuff on TV or whatever, you need to find reasons to bring people into the stadium, right, to fill those seats. Why? I mean, given the topic of today, though, and Stéphane, maybe you can share a bit about this, like, why mmWave? I mean, could we have done this with Wi-Fi? Couldn't you have done this with some other technology?
Yes, so to do that, we integrated with a lot of real-time data, real-time information, and like the position of the puck in particular, but the position of the players also. So that means we receive several times per second the position of each player and also of the puck. And so we need to be able to transfer this information in real time, so with the latency as low as possible. And so that's where 5G mmWave is really important for us to deliver this experience. And yeah, we tried also with other technologies, but we didn't have the same level of experience. And it's not as reliable as 5G mmWave. So for us, it was the best solution.
It's a good reminder. We talk a lot about speeds, right? But the latency is probably more important.
Well, I was just going to say, we tried doing it on 4G, we tried it on Wi-Fi, and it sort of worked, but it was glitchy, and it just, because it would break down, it wasn't fun. Like, people are like, okay, sure, maybe. But when it all happens and just works in real time, that gets people really excited.
And Stéphane, how hard was it to work with mmWave? I mean, you said you tried multiple technologies that didn't work. Was it hard to integrate mmWave, or?
Not really, because on our side, the experience we developed was on smartphones, so all the radio complexity was abstracted by the system, basically. So it wasn't hard. We had some work to do on the edge computing part to integrate our servers in the edge computing environment. But with the tools provided by AWS, now it's very easy, and it's as simple as deploying on a standard cloud environment. So yeah, it was very easy in the end.
So maybe, Brian, we can switch from NHL. That's a great.
Underseat?
Yeah, there it is. That's what we're looking for, underseat.
Those are very
cool.
So
maybe we can switch from NHL for a bit and talk about some of the other stuff that you've done. I know you've been working across a number of different sports leagues. I know if Kim was here, we'd be talking about NBA and some of that stuff. But maybe you can talk, like, what was your, after NHL, which we just talked about, what's your favorite example, or which ones excited you most?
Well, I'll tell you, it was fun to see what happened with low latency video. So broadcasters put out an event, but if you're somewhere live and you're trying to watch it, it's going to be behind. It will not keep pace with what you're watching in real time. And if you think about the sport of F1, smoking fast cars. And so the tracks are large. And if you wanted to be able to watch your driver or watch a corner and personalize and control that experience for yourself, you can't do that over today's networks. You have to have mmWave. You have to have mmWave, low latency video, and it has to be less than a second, sometimes even tighter than that. And the reason for that is you'll be watching the race, and then you put your phone down, and the race comes around, it happens, it's very exciting. And then maybe as it goes around, somebody makes a pass. Maybe there's a crash, maybe something you wanted to see, and you don't want to have to wait to hear about it. You can personalize and watch it right on your phone. Can't do that, but for mmWave, you're seeing that happened in football too. As the B-roll was going, I mean, right now we got the hockey one, if you want to take a look at that on the screen. But the football, people sit in different areas. They go use restroom, they go to get merchandise, they go to get food. They want to keep watching the game. And you can personalize up to 7 different angles. That's 35 meg per second. Today's 4G networks can't support that. You got to have the mmWave.
So I think beyond mmWave, right? You mentioned a bit about what you could do with also including things like edge computing, and how does the whole solution? How do you pull the whole solution together?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just tell you about that. So one of the things we're doing is providing flexibility for walk-in, walk-out stores. So you need computer vision, you need edge computing, and you want the mobility to be able to put the store anywhere. So let's say something's happened at an event and you want to be able to sell certain merchandise because now all of a sudden Ferrari's doing good, or a certain basketball or football or hockey player. So the venue owners want to be able to pop up these little stores, and they don't want to have to staff them with point of sale and swipe the credit card. So these walk in, walk out, you need computer vision, and you need to be able to edge compute, and you got to be able to transact that super fast. So as we think about business opportunities, these pop-up stores that you can set up anywhere you want to and give them flexibility, couldn't do it without mmWave. It makes a big difference for the fans.
I mean, maybe Stéphane, from your perspective, so we've seen some F1 here. We talk about NHL. What was your favorite of all the sports that you've worked with? And I guess what kind of experiences were you delivering?
I think what we did with Verizon on the NHL was really good, especially with the puck tracking. It was really a bonus, because on most of the sports we work with, usually we have the player tracking, but not always the ball tracking and puck tracking and so on. So I think, yeah, this was really a great one. But we are also, yes, looking at a lot of other sports and what we could bring to other sports as well. And I think there are a lot of opportunities, especially for in-stadium experience. And for that, we need good connectivity. So also, we are depending on the deployment of 5G technology and mmWave in particular.
Well, let me just add on, Peter.
Please.
I think there's use cases that people haven't anticipated yet. So you take a really popular driver like we're seeing here, and you're watching the driver, and you choose which view you want to look at. That's what they're showing. They're swiping through there. But maybe you're curious about what type of clothes they're wearing off track, or what type of music they listen to, or something pop culture about them. With Stéphane's technology, we can put that on there so that on a menu you can just tap it while you're watching the driver. You can do that with NBA players or NFL or soccer players, the other football. And it just, somebody thinks it's the best football. Maybe. But the point is, when we brought this to the F1, they said in Miami it was the most high-tech event they'd ever experienced, because they have telematics and they have the communication between the driver and the owners or the coaches, and they have information for positioning, pole position and down, what's happening. But what they didn't have is video to tie it all together. Couldn't have done that without mmWave. Well, now with Stéphane's technology, we can also put up statistics. A lot of times people brag about their favorite player, Peter, and they'll be like, well, my guy's better than your guy, or my gal's better than yours on the court. Well, you can now show it to somebody right there, look at the stats and
You're wrong.
Look things up.
So, I mean, you asked sort of who knew the sport. I mean, just a quick question for the audience. I mean, who's been to a major sporting event in a stadium or somewhere in the last 6 months to a year? Show of hands. That's good. I mean, I think I was running a round table actually yesterday with a bunch of European operators, and this topic of venues, and venues came up. And so I think we forget that, particularly if you haven't been to one, that this is becoming sort of just taken for granted that you're going to have this for your audience, right? I mean, I just sort of looked at the history. If you go back to 2018, right? We had, BT was doing it in Wembley, and then there was you guys with the Super Bowl, and then we had the F1, then we had the Olympics in Tokyo, and then we just had the World Cup in Qatar, and we know in France for the Olympics it's going to be all. I think if you haven't been, it's a. I'm not saying you could write it off as a business expense, but if you want to go to a major sporting event, I am not a financial advisor, so that was not. But I think it is worth sort of experiencing some of this. I mean, you mentioned speed tests. I think I heard you mention at some point, Brian. If we looked at the Super Bowl that was just held, the amount of traffic and how much of that was actually carried over 5G and mmWave. Did I remember that correctly? Or?
No, you did, and I'm excited to tell you that the usage just keeps going. It doesn't matter how much mmWave, how much capacity we put in, people just keep consuming and consuming more and more. This last Super Bowl in America in February, 47 terabytes of data just during the game. One game day, 47 terabytes. And the exciting soundbite for that, 73% of that traffic was on mmWave. We don't have to prove mmWave anymore. We don't have to force it to be like, like our technology. If we didn't have that, we couldn't serve all that traffic. That we couldn't even come close to serving all that traffic.
I mean, for me, I think that goes back again. A lot of, for me and my team, a lot of what we do when we come to events like this is just sort of to sense check some of the things we've been saying. Hey, we say this, we think this is the case. When we talk about mmWave being a when, not if technology, it's like, our numbers say that, but is it real? When you hear numbers like that, right? The amount of traffic going after mmWave, it really highlights that, right? It's got to be something that's going to.
I mean, here's a proof point for you. we had Umlaut, excuse me, in the stadium. Umlaut was in the stadium, third-party tester. When they were in the stadium during the game, their average download throughput speed was 2 gigabits per second and peak at 4 gigabits. You're not getting that here today. I mean, you will if you go over to Telefonica's booth and stand in front of the mmWave. But in general, you're not getting that on the normal 5G networks. mmWave makes such a huge difference, and it serves the capacity. How many of you saw Rihanna? Anybody see Rihanna? It was huge. First pregnant lady ever to perform a halftime show. How cool is that and progressive, right? So Rihanna performs. The halftime show is the busiest mass calling environment in America that happens because it's exciting stuff. It's in the middle of a big game that's so fun to watch. So the usage and what people are doing and sharing and telling people and broadcasting it themselves, or FaceTiming it, or they're Google chatting it, and they're just showing off. And you can see right there what we're talking about. It was just so incredible to serve all the capacity. We had a lot of CEOs that were like, this is amazing. Like, this is incredible.
And well, that's where the value comes. Like when we do the work and you look at the consumer data, right? And consumers say what they want to pay. They want to pay for reliability in a crowded place, right?
Yeah, they want their stuff to work.
Yeah. I mean, they're excited. They're at this event. It's the Super Bowl. They want to capture that, right? And they don't want to look at their phone and go, "I've got 5 bars, but I can't get any actual data." So I think going back to when I did my presentation, it's occupational hazard. I have to talk a little bit about the challenges, right? So consumers, and we want for consumers this to be seamless, right? They show up, it works, great. Yeah. They don't need to know why it's difficult, but we know, I mean, all of us in the room, you who deploy networks or develop gear, that there's a lot of hard work that goes into making this all be seamless for the consumers. So what challenges have you faced when you went to roll this out, whether it's working with mmWave, whether it was the ecosystem, or what kind of challenges did you encounter with this? And what could be better going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So I also want to let Stéphane speak, so I'll go first with the mmWave,
sure.
And then you talk about the tech. mmWave is not a neutral host technology, and so it requires, I call it neutral pole. You have to have the mmWave per carrier. So if you want to talk about one of the challenges, it's that when you go into a venue, they oftentimes just want a neutral host so that it works for all carriers that come in. But with mmWave, you have to deploy your own antenna, but you just have to educate and inform the venue owners, as well as big gathering environments. Whether in America we have a big concert called Coachella, and it's 3 weekends, and it's 100,000 people. You talk about Times Square, you talk about big gathering spaces. You've got to get people to understand that it requires a lot of fiber and a lot of power and a lot of attach. So once you get that out there and you explain that, then I think people start to realize they can have events that are they're safe for the public. They can reach first responders, fans, and patrons who come to it can do whatever they want when they get there. I think it's amazing. But then we have to do other technology on top of this, and I'll let Stéphane talk about that.
Yeah, I think you make a great point about from an application developer perspective, what we want is to have a good connectivity and 5G mmWave basically in a lot of places, a lot of stadiums, and compatible with all operators, so that we can build an application and provide it to all the users, all the fans. And for us, I think that's the major hurdle today, especially in Europe. I think there's a lot of progress to do on this topic to equip a lot of stadium and to be able to provide great experiences for fans in the stadiums. And especially what we notice also when we discuss with leagues, the clubs, they all want to attract new people in the stadiums and to provide their new services. That includes using bandwidth, of course, and to attract these new people, new generations also. You have to build these kind of experiences where people can interact and get access to a lot of information, a lot of data. And so yeah, from my perspective, major hurdle is the adoption of the technology and deployment in the stadium.
How user-friendly? I mean, how much the issue of user? I mean, this looks pretty cool. Does the average user, once they're there, is it pretty simple to use, or will my mom be able to go and see Rihanna and figure out how to use all this?
Yeah, that's the goal actually. That it's as easy as possible. So we use also AI and machine learning to make it easier, so that you just have to hold your phone in front of the game, and basically it will automatically recognize where you are and display the information you want. And what's great from my perspective also is that it can adapt to your level of skill in the sport or knowledge of the sport. It can be just an easy way to see who is this player, how performant he is during the game. But if you want really to deep dive into the statistics, then you can also see the heat maps and see a lot of other types of statistics.
Good.
I think, let me jump in on that too. I think one of the things that's coming soon is the gamification. So could you have all the audience trying to decide who's going to score the first goal, or who's going to potentially do whatever sport you love? But also then you could bring in sports betting, for example, and you could do parlays, and you could have people trying to guess who's going to get the tip-off, who's going to make the first point, the first 3-point, who's going to foul first. I mean, there's all these things that sports people love to challenge each other, to say, hey, I know more than you do about this sport.
And I mean, fantasy football, for those of you who don't know, fantasy football in the US, but then sports betting is incredible.
Huge.
And as long as we can make it easy, I mean, I'll say that's important. I mean, you know, my mom loves Mbappe, and you know, I don't think she knows who that is. But you know, I will say, I think, just going back to what you were saying about some of the difficulties, I'm guessing at least it's probably a good reminder, although it may be sort of not quite neutral host, we're also not talking about the giant antennas that you had with other bands, right? Given that mmWave is more, that must make it a little bit simpler than, it's easier to deploy multiple operators than if you had to deal with giant antennas. Is that fair?
I think so. I think what you pointed out earlier was the under-the-seat antennas. So one of the things we've done is figured out you have to go low and tight. So we like to put antennas under the seats. We do that with Wi-Fi as well, because we love all sorts of technology. We do it on drink rails. We do it on handrails. We also have what's called a matching ball, which is a really dense antenna that can shoot up to 8 different sectors and beam down onto the field, because the people on the field now, they have needs too. And so it depends on if you're a first responder on the field, or you know, anybody down there just doing operations. Recently, Verizon announced private networks for coach-to-coach communications, and so not a sales plug, but the technology is super incredible, because all coaches now in America on football will be using the Verizon network for communicating. They cannot have one word that gets lost in the play, not one word.
And it sort of goes back to what we heard from CICT of the vertical applications. I know we're talking a lot about the consumer and the immersive, you know, the immersive opportunities there, because those are sort of easy to sell. But it really is important to recognize, right, whether it's for coach-to-coach or, as you said, public safety and first responders. I mean, the importance of keeping people safe at these events, more and more, I think, are recognizing, and where mmWave can play a role in at least making sure the networks aren't congested.
Well, sure, because you have so much capacity, right?
100%.
And people can get on the network and get off of it faster, which means they can do more.
Yeah, people want to feel safe when they're at those events, or else they won't go. So I guess maybe to end, sort of looking forward, what kind of opportunities do we see going forward? I mean, maybe, Stéphane, we can start with you. I think when you're looking at cool use cases and applications, what do you see coming up next?
Yeah, I think one of the great use cases that we see on our side, and we can see today at the MWC, is that there are more and more AR headsets, AR glasses coming to the market. Qualcomm is showing a lot of new devices on its booth today. And for us, that's a great opportunity to work on that with this kind of experience that we did on smartphone can be done also on AR glasses. And in the future, we think that people will use more and more AR glasses, and maybe will come with their glasses at the stadium or can use them at home. And for me, that's for us at Immersive, that's a big focus to think about what the experience will look like on these glasses. And to build these new applications, we will need to have also a very low latency. It will be even more a requirement compared to smartphones. So yeah, I think that's one of the major.
It's important to recognize you said AR, not VR. We want people seeing what's around them. We don't want them bumping into walls or anything.
For sure. Let me just pile on real quick. So you're going to see in the sports world referees will start wearing glasses because the play clock is incredibly important for what they see on the field versus the actual time. Today, they have to look up at the Jumbotron, they have to look somewhere else, or they have to have somebody in their ear telling them. They need to be able to see in real time. That will be a game changer when referees can see the live play tied to a play clock. That's a simple use case, but it's something that has to have no latency. Can't have a play clock a few seconds behind. And so I think a lot more is coming with augmented reality, not only for fans, but for coaches, but for sure referees. We're getting those requests where leagues are saying, we just want our refs to be able to see more of the game than what they have to do by looking around so much.
I think it is a good reminder and a bit of a plug. I mean, it may have sounded like a joke, but I really do encourage everyone to get out there. I mean, I think so much of this, you can sit back and sort of laugh at some of the stuff like around the metaverse, for example, right? Mm-hmm. But if you have kids, that's how they enjoy concerts, right? I mean,
that's how this generation lives now.
It's exactly, and this might look sort of futuristic,
like a video game.
But it's worth. I mean, I think we come to shows like this to understand the ecosystem, what's going on. This is part of how these technologies will get used. So I just encourage everyone out there, if you have a chance, go and attend one of these big events. You're going to see some of the opportunities, and I think it's super exciting. Well, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. This was really inspiring.
Yeah,
thank
good.
You.
All right, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stéphane.
Thank you, Peter.